This is Survivor South Pacific Recap. I'm Diana Watt, and you're watching this on Diana Watt My Reality. The show opens up with Jeff Probst giving the rundown of what happened last week, and then it goes directly into Stacy reuniting with Christine at Redemption Island. And it's a bittersweet reunion. Actually, it's just a bitter reunion. Stacy starts to say that everybody on her tribe is the devil, and they're all going to hell for playing a reality game. They're going to go to hell. And that she's going to open up a can of bees or a bee's nest at the duel. And they bash on Coach quite a bit. Here's the thing. These two women, they went to war with Coach the second he stepped on the beach. He did nothing to them, and Christine said, he's a temporary player. She decided right then and there, and I knew in that moment she was going to be the first one from that tribe to go. Not because Coach had such great pull at that time, but you just don't social game, people. It's a social game too. You cannot last in these games by being offensive the very first day. And Stacy and Christine stuck together. Now I think the two of them thought they were too good to play suck up. You do not go on a reality show and not end up playing some version of suck up. It's the way it's done. So they were, too straightforward and too good to do that, and therefore they were 1 and 2 to go from that tribe. So then we cut to Apollo, whatever Upulu, and it's Brandon saying he's doing pretty good in one breath. He gives the tribe their tree mail, and then he goes straight to confessional, and he's crying again. Brandon is a sweet kid, clearly, but he's not mature enough to play this game. He's had some life-altering things that have happened, and he's trying to redeem himself. This is not the platform to do it, and I think you cannot redeem your uncle. And first of all, look, Russell was playing a reality game. That doesn't make him the devil, but you can't be responsible for your family members' mistakes, and you can't go in and redeem them, especially on a game where people lie. You can't, they're lying. You have to assume that people are going to lie, and this is the wrong place for him to try to make that change for his. So cut to the duel, and as promised, Stacy and Christine decide to open that little bee's nest up, and they talk to the Savai members of the watching the duel. That was Dawn and Whitney, and they say, Coach is in charge and Albert's his right-hand man. Now Albert's sitting there watching with Michaela, and he's just shaking his head, and they start to call Coach Benjamin because he's not worthy of the name Coach, and we're going to insult him by calling him Benjamin. Okay, first of all, Coach isn't there, ladies. He's not there to hear your insults, and when he wins the game, I don't think he'll care. He'll have a lot of Benjamins. So, Dawn seems to be eating this little display up, and I don't understand it because I kind of think Dawn has a good head on her shoulders, but these two sound like idiots to me. But Dawn apparently eats it up, and so does the other one. So, the duel is where you drop the ball into a little cage, and it goes round and round and round and round and round, comes out at the bottom, you catch it, you drop another one on the other side, round and round and round, catch it, and you keep adding balls, and you keep catching them until you screw up. Now, Christine listened to Jeff's advice and played strategically. Stacy, on the other hand, had this face. The entire time. She knows everything. Don't tell her anything. She's got it conquered, and she's going to win this thing. Not. By Stacy, Christine has her third duel win under her belt. Now, we cut back to Apulu. And Albert comes back to report what Stacy and Christine have said, and this really upsets Coach, who thinks that this day couldn't get any worse because now he's going to have a target on his head when they get to the merge. Back at Savai, Elise thinks that she has one of the greatest alliances because they don't even have to talk strategy. Okay, first of all, Elise and Ozzy laying in the shelter all the time doing nothing. Last week, Ozzy scoffed at Jim when Jim wanted to talk strategy. And I wish I had, great editing capabilities, because I swear to God, I would put Ozzy laying there on that shelter like this, king of the world, and two women with palm fronds waving him and giving him air, and another one feeding him grapes, because that's the way Ozzy is acting on this beach. He thinks he's a king, and he's just, hello, my presence. Blech. So, and Elise is his, oh, Ozzy, make me want to gag. And if I was the other members of that team, of that tribe, I would be looking at ways to get rid of him too. So Dawn comes back from the duel and tells her tribe everything Christine and Stacy said. And Ozzy makes the blunder of the year by saying, well, geez, if I were coach, I'd have to get rid of Albert. That would be the smart thing to do. Jim, the sneaky but smart Jim, picks up on this instantly. Now, Cochran, Dawn, and Jim are trying to get Elise out, but they need a fourth. And Jim knows that this little piece of information would be the perfect thing to get Keith away from Ozzy long enough to vote Elise out. So he does just that. He takes that little nugget of information and says, that means he's going to try to get rid of one of you or me. We're his shields, basically. And he can't go into the merge this strong, or we're going to be the ones to go. Now, Keith is all on board for this, right up until Whitney gets a hold of him. So, at Immunity Challenge. By the way, whoever picked this doozy, first of all, Survivor is a walking advertisement for the American Dental Association. These people teeth are gross. Do you ever wonder why Jeff is always at a distance from everybody when he's talking to them? It's not because he's the host. It's because they stink. It's because their breath has got to be atrocious. And so he's always a good smelling distance away, Good move there, Jeff. So at this immunity challenge, they've got these big pieces of meat on a spigot, and people have to have their hands tied behind their backs and go over, take a big honking bite of it, run it back over to a bucket and put it in. This is a level of I want to win that is kind of special when you have to take meat out of another person's teeth. Oh. And they break their teeth. Some people break their teeth and don't do well, but Apollo, I'm going to need classes on how to say that, aren't I? Wins by 2.5 ounces, or 2 ounces. That's all that separated these two teams. And they win immunity. Now, they come back from immunity at Savai, and Cochran is taking wood over towards the fire. And there's King Ozzy and Queen Elise lying there. And Ozzy says to Cochran, how do you spell your name? Well, that was subtle, Ozzy. I mean, really, come on. Cochran is my little Woody Allen. He's just so Woody Allen, isn't he? Like young Woody Allen. So Cochran says, you're not going to have to write my name down. Don't worry about it. And well, that actually happened before immunity. After immunity, Cochran goes to open a coconut, and Ozzy complains that he's suddenly working around camp. Ozzy clearly hasn't paid attention because Cochran's been working since the first time he realized he was in danger. He's done nothing but try to work around camp while King Ozzy laid around. There's this funny piece where they talk about Ozzy going fishing and what it's like for him to be the provider of the camp. I'm going to have to show you a picture of this because Ozzy's talking about how being the provider is important. It's really difficult for him to go and fish, and it's like underwater yoga, and it's just all so zen and, self-important personally. And then they show Ozzy coming out of the little fishing boat, and he's walking, and his hands are open. Okay. His hands are outstretched, and he's got little fishies hanging from this pole and the fishing pole and this one. And I swear, I thought it was like Jesus coming out of the water to feed the 5,000 with 5 little fishies and a loaf of bread. Long-haired Ozzy. Here, my subjects. Oh, my God, I just about died laughing when I saw it. But that's Ozzy's attitude. And so Keith and Whitney start talking in the water. Keith's only worry about voting out Elise is ticking off Ozzy. I don't understand why Jim thinks that Ozzy will remain loyal to him the minute he gets rid of Elise. It's a sign of betrayal. And you got to know you're not that good if your tribe wants to get rid of one of the people you call closest. But at least Keith picks up on this, and he and Whitney are in the water, and they're like, well, maybe we could vote for somebody else. And that way we're not voting out Elise, but we're not voting Cochran out either. So go to the tribal council, and poor Cochran. I love me some Cochran. He's nervosing. I'm telling you, Woody Allen. Very nervosing. He says funny things that upset everybody because they're like, oh, that's gross. And because they're, too good, too cool for school. And Ozzy's arrogant, and Elise is without a clue. And the vote comes down. 2 votes for Cochran, 2 votes for Don, 2 votes for Elise. Wait a minute, something's not working out here. And then the 3rd vote for Elise, and she's out the door, totally blindsided. And the rest of the show is Ozzy pouting because his team didn't do what he said to do. So that is Survivor South Pacific. I cannot wait to see Ozzy pout next week. I'm a free agent. Well, that means you're a loner and one guy against the entire tribe. You better hope you win immunity because you're telling people to vote you out. Again, brilliant strategy, Ozzy. Over at the other camp, I gotta tell you, I'm impressed with Coach this year. I couldn't stand him his first year. His second year, I thought he was just too in awe of Rob and others to be effective. This year, I like Coach. I think he's playing a great game, and I think he's playing a very social game, not too arrogant, very team-centered game. And then he went and he found the freaking immunity idol. Okay, so Albert freaks out that they've been outed to the other tribe, that they're running the show. All right. And he comes back looking for the immunity idol, can't find it, and he lets in Coach on the clue. Coach goes and finds it. So now Coach is holding the immunity idol. He's a happy camper. I think he's enjoying this Survivor experience more than the other ones he's had because he's got a team and he's respected and he's not the joke of the show. And I'm actually kind of for Coach for the first time. So my 2 favorites are Team Cockroach. Cochran and Coach. Team Cockroach. So I know, they're not on the same tribe. I know this. But there is a merge coming, and maybe they will be. And we'll see how that goes. I will see you next week for Survivor South Pacific, the recap. Thanks.